Everyone's looking through the looking glass, and when you look so small, you're gonna feel like an ass, you know. It all feels wrong, kinda out of whack. Zoomed in close up, don't know how to act. They know.
Before that parade, and from about the time that I began to get involved in trying to have formal setups, I would describe it as dismal, and there was sort of a desperation. Things had been set up. People maybe would meet in a certain pub. I think the tavern was used twice a week. It was sad. There was a lot of loneliness out there, a lot of desperate kind of situations. And they thought that if we were in town and we knew other gay people, that we must have been in gay heaven. And in the beginning it is like that, because it's such a relief to meet other people that are gay, because if you perceive yourself as being, your perception of yourself is so poor, and people were looking for love, companionship, friendship, validation, affirmation.
In the beginning, for example, when we started to try and set up a helpline to find a venue to do training, it wasn't that there wasn't any venues available. There was loads of places, but nobody would lease, rent, give a venue to anything that would be connected with lesbian and gay people.
We weren't part of the mainstream community. We wouldn't have necessarily been able to take an ad out in a paper to advertise an event. Some papers wouldn't take our advertisements. So it was very much word of mouth at that stage, and very hidden. Everybody knows everybody at the time. It was, if they weren't out to their family, then it would be a concern that they might come onto the gay scene and meet their cousin. And of course we'd always say, but if your cousin's there, why would he be telling your family? Because he's gay, or she's gay. So, but it took a lot of reassurance for a lot of people. But it's natural. It's natural, we know, in the time that was in it.
A few of us tried to get, we set ourselves up, called it a Galway Gay Collective, was the kind of cool name at that time. It was, to do any kind of social outlets at all. We had a cheese and wine or a bit of a disco or whatever. What we were trying to do was break even and get people to appear, and that was hard going. I would not really describe it as successful. I look on those days as a kind of glorious failure. Glorious because it was doomed, and a failure because we didn't really build a momentum up that we could say to somebody when they would contact. We set up a box number for people to contact, that here is something that you can do or you can come to. There were the times that we're in, this was sexuality in Ireland in the 80s, sort of backward kind of attitudes, and people suffered for that, and we wanted to change that.
I didn't want to do it until I could walk on a parade where I lived. So for me, I thought, well, if there was a parade in Galway, then people would see it. And even if they didn't see it themselves, then somebody would, and they would be talking about it. And just to know that there was a group of people that were lesbian and gay that walked down celebrating Gay Pride in Galway, I know it would have made a difference to me, and I presume it would have to other people as well.
Myself and Mary Lughéid decided we wanted to mark Pride, which was the last weekend in June. So we got a big long stick, a bucket full of wallpaper pierced, and put posters up on most of the city centre lamp posts, so they were above the height that anybody could rip them down. And some of those posters nearly lasted 15 years. So we were trying to celebrate, well, at least mark the day. Meanwhile, unbeknown to us, Nuala was busy organising a parade. And about the Thursday before the Saturday of the first Pride, we realised we were both doing stuff for Pride, but we weren't together as a gang doing it. So then we joined forces and we had a parade and a pride.
We were going to have it on the Saturday because that was the weekend when Pride would be. So we only had 4 days. I said, well, what do we need? And Pádraig Brannock was asked me how was I getting on at the Garda station. He said, you've told the guards. And I said, yeah, but I have to keep going back and I have to put something in writing. And I think I did. I wrote, which wasn't good enough for them either. So Pádraig says, come on, I'll come with you. So he went in. I was beside him and he says, look, there's going to be a parade, lesbian and gay pride. It's at such time, such a day. Now you know. That's it. And out the door. So that was it. And that's how the first one started. I made little flyers and threw them into the letterboxes of people that I knew that were gay to let them know. And on the radio, Galway FM, was just a little thing inviting people to come and help us celebrate.
There was 3 lesbians, 2 gay men and about 10 friends, and we met up in Ayr Square and we had a banner and we power walked down Shop Street and dived into the quays of old, and there was a lady trying to video us and we'd passed her by. So we had to come back out of the quays, unfurl the banner and let her video us.
I don't think I ever felt so many different emotions so intense. And then not sleeping because I was really excited about it as well. But I was also quite scared in case there'd be some violence or some horrible repercussions. And my gut feeling told me there wouldn't be, but I was still worried that there might be.
I was very frightened. We didn't know what the reaction was going to be to it. It was the first time any of us had ever done it, and we just didn't know what to expect, and I personally was very frightened.
But people were looking. Some people hadn't a clue what it was because the banner just said Galway Pride. Some people clapped, which was like, wow. And it was a bit surreal too, because I kept kind of asking myself, God, did we really do that? Did that really, at last? Because, when you want something to happen for a few years and then it happens, it's like, oh, great.
There wasn't any hassle, wasn't any eggs, there was no tomatoes. All the fears that you have beforehand were like, wow, that went down quite well. It was a positive experience. The first parade was very much groundbreaking. To me, it proved that we could do it and there was a need for it. And it then created a lot of discussion amongst the gay community about the need for pride. And some people were very positive and thought it was a great thing, and some people thought that because we were such a small number, we looked silly walking down the street and we should wait till the community was a lot bigger before we did pride parades. So it created a lot of debate within the community.
One of the issues that came up was because the parade was organised, it was me and 2 other women, and the 2 other women were heterosexual. So that was the big debate about heterosexual people organising something that was for gay people. For me, and I think for some others as well, my belief, and still is, that regardless of our sexuality or gender or race or culture or whatever, we all have a responsibility to each other and to make things happen, especially when injustices are being done.
We'd done the initial one that was just frightening. The second one was again difficult and quite small, but by the time we got the third one, we'd figured out to get a renter crowd in. So we had people from Cork and Limerick and Belfast and Derry and from all over the country. So it meant that the number of people marching on the parade was vastly bigger. And it suddenly felt like we were celebrating. And we weren't a tiny minority group, that we were forced to be proud of. And it was starting to feel like a pride rather than a challenge. I mean, it started off very small, and I think it fairly naturally grew in size each year, gradually getting bigger. And becoming easier, I think, as well for people to do. I think anybody's first pride is frightening. Anytime they walk the parade for the first time, it's going to be frightening. But once somebody's done it one year, they probably will go back a second year and do it. So it's just a natural growth.
I think it has changed dramatically over the years. I wasn't involved or didn't even see the very early years. But from the years that I did see, from about 97 onwards, I've seen a huge development in that it's mushroomed and become something far, far bigger. We've bigger venues now, bigger crowds, bigger parade, larger amount of people come from not just all of Ireland but around the world to come and join in the parade and the festivities. And it has become quite a big festival.
Once the summer comes around, all anybody ever talks about is Pride. It marks our summer, like Big Brother marks other people's. Pride is one of those things where people will make an effort to attend so that people can, see. It's a gesture of solidarity as well.
I think it was around, I suppose it'd be 96, 97, probably my first one. I wasn't living here at the time. And a group of friends decided we'd come up. Now, I never heard of Pride or what it was about. To me, it was just a weekend away. So when I came up, I was just shocked at the amount of gay people that were around. As I said, there was like 4 or 5 in our group at home. It's like more than that. It's like, oh my God, there's so many gay people.
The first Pride parade I was in Galway, I started out just hesitantly going to Dyke Road and looking around quite nervously. I remember seeing a horse and a carriage, and I was like, okay, I'll stand behind the horse and the carriage and nobody will see me. It'll be great. And then because of all the whistles and the bells and the waving of flags and cheering, the horse got spooked and couldn't go at the beginning of the parade anymore. So suddenly my safety net was gone and I was right smack bang in the front of the parade on my second weekend in Galway going, ah! And then I realised that there were people behind me, to my left and my right, people who recognised me from Dublin, who knew it was my first ever parade, and who knew that now that the horse was gone, I was a little bit exposed. And they just started singing a song, and it caught on and it got me through it. And last week I met one of those Dubliners out, and I was like, you really helped me, because if I hadn't marched in that parade, I probably wouldn't have decided to be an outspoken person in the community in Galway, because I would have been terrified.
The first parade I went on, as I said, I wasn't sure. Even at that stage, I wasn't even sure if I was gay or not, or if I wanted to come out or not, and fully. I think it was, for me, the support that I got from the people around me was just unreal. And it was like a stepping stone for me to go on and to accept what I was and not care what other people thought. You have all that support around you, and it's like strength in numbers. And it's like you're not alone. You feel like you are alone, even though you know you're not. But when you're around so many people, you just feel you're part of a community that will care for you and will look out for you, and you can talk about whatever problems you're having at that stage. So yeah, it's a great idea for anyone wanting to come out. Not necessarily to walk in the parade, but to see the people are there, and there is support there, and that people are not afraid to stand up for themselves. And yeah, I'm here, except I'm part of your community.
One woman who I had been speaking to weeks beforehand and trying to encourage her to come into the parade, and she really wanted to, but felt really, really afraid to be. And then about 200 or 300 yards just before the end, all of a sudden she appeared on my side and go, I'm in it, I'm here, I did it, I'm in, and it was just so amazing, that kind of yippee and relief and excitement and nervousness about being in it. And everybody is so exhausted afterwards because the energy you use going through it, and it's just something else. I think it's actually a little bit more than the kind of energy that you'd use as a performer in a regular parade, because you're being a character in those, whereas in a pride parade, people are being themselves and they're really putting themselves out there. And for some, they can feel like they're putting themselves in a very vulnerable position. And you can pick up on that and feel it from some people, and then the total sheer exuberance and pride from other people. But together, collectively, it's quite an amazing energy that leaves us all quite exhausted at the end of it all.
It's on the one-to-one level that you really find where homophobia is still there in society. People think they're comfortable, maybe that you have a relationship with the woman, but even when it comes to mentioning things like pride and all the rest of it, people really are still uninformed.
I remember we were walking down the street and a group of two people passed us by, two young guys, and they called out queers, and we called back unoriginal homophobes. But yeah, you know, you really have to keep up with the homophobic lingo. Queers are so old. But yeah, no, I've been called dyke in a negative way. I've been called queer in a negative way. Those are the most common terms.
There would have been a lot of homophobia around Galway, and probably still is a little bit, but to give an idea of what it was like, in 93, a group called Pluto in NUIG were organising for the lesbian and gay communities to participate in the St. Patrick's Day parade, which was really exciting because we hadn't done anything like this before. So lots of people were interested in getting involved, and it was all being organised. And about a week before the parade was to take part, a newspaper had printed this horrible article describing lesbian and gay people in horrible ways, calling on the organisers of the St. Patrick's Day parade to stop us from participating in the parade, saying that lesbian and gay people had no part in or had nothing to offer Irish society, saying all kinds of stuff I wouldn't even mention, and saying that if the organisers of the St. Patrick's Day parade didn't have the courage to stop us from participating in the St. Patrick's Day parade, calling on all decent Christians to stop us.
There is a kind of an undercurrent out there that homophobia is just the norm, or at least non-tolerance of LGBT people unless they're on TV or far away from you, or not members of your family, or not members of your circle of friends. You know, I think that that kind of thinking is tolerated a lot, and it's there under the surface in a primarily Catholic country. Majority of people of Galway are lovely people, fantastic, artistic and diverse, and very accepting. But you always get those undesirable people who just go out of their way to make trouble. And very often they view minority grouping like LGBT as weak, because that's the association everybody has with gayness, that somehow we're weak when we're not. You know, we are the backbone of Irish society. We're part and parcel of it. You know, we might not have it written on our foreheads, but we're teachers, we're doctors, and we're brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. And, you know, eventually that lesson is going to sink in. Galway has always been different. It's a different town, it's a different mentality. There's an artistic sensibility about the city, and that kind of promotes diversity, and it allows you to be your own person, which is fantastic. And it means that that gay people, LGBT people, they walk down the street, they're in every pub, not just the gay pubs, and that's great.
I don't know why Galway has had the longest running Pride, or why it's been as successful as it has, but I think Galway's a very special city anyway. And we've always loved parades here, whether it's a Paddy's Day parade or a Machnas parade. And Pride Parade is just another fabulous, beautiful piece of our social scenery, I guess.
We have a history. We have a belonging. We've come from somewhere. Or from being able to choose where am I going to go tonight, as opposed to, oh, where can we find that we can possibly have something on. It's a huge difference, and lots of work from lots of people that I couldn't even name. Everybody who has participated and worked in making all these changes happen. It's important to be aware of that and not let it become complacent and slip away.
Well, I'm full of Bród, and I'm very grateful to all the organisers that have come and gone over the years, kept it happening, kept it moving. Very grateful for the support we got in Galway from the larger community. And I feel very honoured to have been part of it all. I feel very thankful to have been part of it all, and I'm really glad it's all happening and going so well. It just feels very good. It feels very nice. Feel good factor number 10.
The word pride to me will always just mean being proud of me and myself. And I think everybody needs that. And whether you're gay or not, you need to be proud of yourself and who you are, and what you do and where you're coming from and stuff like that.
It means that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to be who you are. It's all about acceptance and identity, and being okay in your own skin. Even if you want to dress up that day, or if you want to just wear jeans and a t-shirt, you're walking down the street or you're meeting up with people who are saying, we're all in this together, and we might be totally different, but ultimately we have some kind of link between us, and it's a positive thing.
Pride, not prejudiced. It's about enjoying ourselves. It's about enjoying who we are and showing the world at large that we're here, we're queer, and we ain't going shopping.
It's also about an aspiration, I think, as well, of maybe togetherness, and it's also an inspiration for people, future people coming along. I like to see it as being both.
It means not only socially being out there and celebrating something that is hugely important to me, but it's also, the parade is kind of recognising and honouring those people who have put in an awful lot of work and had much tougher struggles way back in, 50s, 60s, 70s. It's all part of our culture, all part of our history. And it's important to recognise that as well as to celebrate it.
Summer's in your heart, and I know that you're staying, taking a ride, but it feels like you're paying for the madness that occurred with the ticket to good times. Hunter promised this, but he wasn't ready for the first time. Standing with my friends in the bright light, saw you going crazy on the dance floor. I've taken on already, but I want more. This time I wanna feel it. Breakfast in New York, and I know that we're dreaming. Drunken conversations and the things we were scheming to get out of this town and take a trip underground. How Bateman promised this, but he wasn't ready for the first time.